we should talk a little Sens just because there's some numbers out there. This is John Rodenberg on TSN 1200.
John Rodenberg.
Good old JR.
Oh, JR.
He was crunching some numbers on the Senators and what they're going to have to do here down the stretch.
He was crunching numbers all across the board.
And just in terms of what the Sens are going to have to do to get back in this.
It ain't happening.
Well, this is why I wanted to put it to you, and if you'd let me finish setting the table.
Sorry,
yeah.
Did I step on your...
The Sens have many games in hand on most of the teams they're chasing, but it doesn't change what the record is right now. One of the interesting things, and I believe...
Or the way they're playing.
Yeah, well, there's that as well. Chris Johnston, though, did tweet out at some point last week, it's worth keeping in mind while we're all doing that American Thanksgiving thing, that the season started a week later than usual still. So just calling it American Thanksgiving is somewhat arbitrary in terms of number of games.
Yeah, but Friedman went with the November 4th kind
his
of
was
thing.
Always the 1st of November, 4 points out.
Okay,
it's
sorry,
less like
those two things.
Sure. But most people, I know a lot of GMs sort of cite American Thanksgiving as that's when you decide what kind of team you have, whether you have a reasonable chance at getting in. So as we sit here right now, the Sens had won, was it 3 in a row or 4 in a row?
3 in a row.
Okay, coming in to the return home. I don't know if there's any meat on this bone or not, but Toronto, Ottawa, and Minnesota, 3 of the 4 teams who went over to Sweden, all came home and lost their first game, but Detroit won 2 in a row, having gotten home.
Including beating the Bruins.
Right, which is not often done. Apparently, we're going to do that whole thing again, the Bruins being great.
Apparently, they're good.
Apparently. So,
although the Rangers...
do you care about that part at all? Is it just coincidence?
No, to me it doesn't matter.
I'm with you. I think it's noteworthy. Like if it stretches out, do these teams get...
Ottawa had been home for 5 days.
Yeah. They say roughly about an hour per day or a day per hour.
But you're flying on a charter and you are... to me, there's so much more. It's not like you're flying economy.
But this has happened to Ottawa. And again, I don't want to blow this out of proportion, but the last time Ottawa came home, it did not go very well in 2017. That's
15
sort of where
out of 17 losses.
That's not ideal.
Yeah.
So they've struggled with this before. Other teams have. We talked about Colorado quietly telling the league, our sports science people say this fucked us up pretty good for a month or so.
Because they're an extra 2 hours further over.
True, yeah. So it's noteworthy. I don't know if it explains anything yet. We'll see if there's trends to come out of it, but it's noteworthy that this has happened before. But the Sens had won 3 in a row, 2 of those being over in Europe. They come home, they play Friday night. Shout out to our buddy Sens DJ, Alex Marchand, on his 800th game, pumping out the tunes at the Canadian Tire Center for Sens fans.
Man, that is...
It's a lot of games.
It feels like 15 seasons.
Yeah, about that, a little more. He started right after the 04-05 lockout, so... check that episode of Talkie and Audio out. He was on the show on Friday. Go back in your, wherever you're hearing us right now, it'll be there, or at talkieandaudio.com. That game against the Islanders, not so good.
Where the Islanders played for 50 minutes with only 4 defensemen.
4 defensemen, that's also not so good. There were moments where it sort of felt like the Sens were figuring it out or were the better team, but at the end of the day, it just kind of looked like a lot of the same. We'll get back to some of the numbers that JR was cracking. What did you think of Friday's game?
Yeah, well, and it's funny because I look at the things that ail the Senators.
Love a nice ale.
And AIL.
Oh, like that less.
Similar to what ailed the Leafs in certain cases, right? Where the number of times where, especially in a defensive zone, right, pucks get down to the net. Like the book is out 100% on the Senators. Get the puck to the net, and you don't have defensemen taking away sticks, and you have a great opportunity to get between the defender and the goalie. Like that to me is 100% an issue here.
Right.
That you have that Palmieri goal, which was that sort of go-ahead goal. The puck gets down, and you have 2 Islanders in between the defenders and the goalie.
Yeah.
How does that happen? and again, when the Senators started the season, you went, we got Sanderson Zub, we got Shabbat Chicker, and you're like, those are
pretty fucking
good defensemen.
Yep.
In a vacuum. Shabbat, whatever you think, good defenseman.
And having to be put on his offside. These are all reasonable consider. But
Chikrin, good defenseman in a vacuum.
Yep.
Zub, Sanderson, four. I love those four guys,
right.
man. I would have those guys on my team. Then you go, where's the thump? Where is the boxing out? Where is the taking away the stick? Where is the body?
Where's the Roman Polak?
Whatever it is, right? Where is the guy?
Bogosian.
Where is the Mark Mathot? Or where is the whatever that is, right?
Yep.
Bogosian's a good one. I like that, right? It's the Shen. What do we have in terms of just somebody who's going to be, this is my
Not you,
job.
Hamonic.
Not you, Hamonic.
At some point in your career, yes, but
yes,
not
now.
Not now.
Not today. And I'm looking at that 6th D spot and going, yeah, that may
JBD.
That may even be a bit much.
Jacob Barnyard Fokker.
Yeah. Nice.
Close enough.
And it's just, it's an issue. And you go, now, and so everyone, Senators fans, I think, started the season with the idea that we love that. We love that top four.
Yep.
But we also have a lot of in a perfect scenario, right? If things play out perfectly, we're gonna possess the puck. Mm-hmm. We're gonna be moving the puck north. There is no battling for the puck down low because that is not the decor to battle for the puck down low. So add Brandstrom in.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, so are you
money?
These guys, that top four that we all, myself included, just as the hater in the room, thought was really good.
Yep.
You think it's more on them and their style than I know you've acknowledged DJ's defensive weaknesses. There doesn't appear to be a defensive system with a different coach.
And if there is, nobody's adhering to it.
Or knows what the hell it is.
Exactly.
Yeah. If there's another coach, do you think those guys are capable of being that? Or do you have four guys that you'd love to have two of them? I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're all the same type of player, and maybe you need a little variety, even with a different coach.
Zub is the outlier, right? He is the guy who is the better two-way, not a physical player, but he is the better defensive player of those four.
100%.
It doesn't have, it is a puck possession kind of decor, right?
Like you said, turn it north. These guys can get it into the hands of a good, talented top six.
We're moving the puck. We're going forward.
But when you don't have it,
when we're scrambling, you can't clear the blue line. It's horrible.
Okay.
And no, it's not even just not good. It's and some of that belongs to, and I know people who love hockey know, you need the strong side winger at the half boards, man. There needs to be an outlet there, right? And so many times that puck just sort of skitters up to the blue line. And the pinching offensive
the D's
team
going to get there first.
Has it.
Yeah.
And there's no outlet there. And there's not to mention the slot shots. It's just, this is a team that needs to, man, you got to take away the points more. If you're going to scramble down low the way you do, you can't give up the points. It's a fucking nightmare, right? When you allow the points to be as open as they are,
right,
and you can't muscle out at the blue paint, it's trouble, man.
So good old JR, without the cowboy hat, unlike that other good old JR.
He's always yelling, that guy.
Less so lately. He's getting up there a little bit, but yes.
Is JR from wrestling? Is he related to Joe Bowen?
All right.
Are those two somewhere related?
Bless you, boys. As we talk about John Rodenberg.
There's a chicken wing in the side of the mouth somewhere yelling.
I have a feeling Joe Bowen's about to turn down our podcast invitation.
Am I going to be on that show?
You are not. You won't have been for several weeks in preparation as we cleanse the podcast palate.
Here is the most recent episode. Joe, how about that?
Yeah. there's a couple things here.
Sorry, Matt.
We talk about
I know he's a
the-
favorite of yours.
Well, yes. As a Homer radio guy, I'm not someone putting him back on.
And God bless you.
So as we look at the one set of numbers here, and we'll put these in the on our social media feeds. The first one that stands out to me is the expected goals number that JR had pulled out. And this is essentially advanced analytics looking at all the chances you've had in the season.
Yep.
You should have scored this many goals. And so when you have a number that is well above your expected goals, you should expect that to come back a bit. You're scoring at a higher pace than you should be.
A little regression.
Right. And so the same thing is true that you look at a really good, and this is actually the Oilers, who despite their dog shit season, their expected goals has been reasonably good that are just well underperforming it. And if you let that play out over time, in theory, those will start to go in for you. And so that's what expected goals means.
Yeah.
JR points out that only a couple of teams in the NHL have outscored their expected goals more than the Senators, and that being the Bruins, the Jets, the Canucks, and the Red Wings, all teams that have gotten off to killer starts. And the argument or the theory being, as we sort of explained, maybe you don't fully deserve the record you have. You've had some very good luck here moving forward. And the Sens are fifth in that number, but they don't have the wins. Like the Red Wings are sitting higher than I think most of us would have predicted. The Canucks, certainly. The Bruins, I don't know. I've given up trying to understand what's happening. And the Winnipeg Jets. And what's happened is all those teams have used that overinflated expected goals total that they have to bank points that they get to keep in their back pocket as they do regress, right? They get to hold on to those. And Ottawa has not. Now, again, it's worth pointing out the games in hand number. So Ottawa's not dead and buried, but they haven't banked the same number of points and wins out of that inflated number that these other teams have. And so when those numbers in Ottawa start to come back to earth, might spell some pretty serious trouble. JR also pointed out the idea that I think the number he used was 40. They have 66 games left, and it was going to have to be something like 44 and 22 to get to what
41 and 26. There was a couple.
Yeah,
He gave us
and then
options.
the other one was 38, 22, and 6. I know it was the. And this team just at this point has not shown the capability
of being better than 500.
Right. Especially if those expected goals numbers are going to come back to earth a little bit.
Well, and even if, let's just say they don't.
Yeah.
Let's just say they go the full 82 with the fifth best expected goals.
Right.
They have, if you looked at the expected goals against.
Yes.
They have allowed, honestly, in 16 games.
Well above what they should.
10 games they've allowed 5 or more goals against.
Yeah. And so.
Atrocious!
We are past American Thanksgiving. But as CJ points out correctly, we got one more week before that officially kicks in and means what it used to. Ottawa, if they were to go out and win 2 or 3 in a row right now, would points-wise jump right back into it. But point percentage-wise, I think they're at dead on 500 right now.
Yeah, well, they're 8-8.
Yeah, and that is 500.
Yep. And if you look at, they've played 16 games. There are 3 or 4 teams in this league that have played 22 games.
Yeah. Well, as we said, Ottawa's going to catch up here in December.
Yeah. But it does come down to there's nothing about this team. Zero about this team. And I don't care if Pinto's not playing and Shabbat hasn't played. Yeah,
they've had some injuries. And Korpisalo now is, I guess it doesn't look serious. I think he was practicing on Sunday.
And so if you, to me, they've had enough of the talent. In terms of up front, you've had your top 6 essentially healthy.
Yeah.
Both your goalies have gone, and they were supposed to be a decent 1A, 1B. Mm-hmm. And this team, to me, has just looked like, even at its best, they are all the things that I would ridicule and point out about the Leafs in their sort of, their early post Matthews selection years, right? Where it was, we're going to run and gun, we're going to score goals, we're going to put points up.
Yeah.
Defense be damned, right? We're going to expose the goalie, we're going to do all those things.
Yeah.
This team in Ottawa shows no under this regime, under this coaching staff, and these players, there's no defensive detail. And so there's nothing about this team that says to me, like, if you look at the teams at the bottom of the standings, Ottawa hasn't played any of them.
No.
Or the vast majority.
Yeah.
They have played some. But, man, Ottawa plays down. Like, Minnesota has 6 wins. And Ottawa was life and death. Went to a shootout to beat those guys. So it's not like Ottawa's, we've lost to the Knights and we've lost to Colorado and Boston.
No, you've lost to Detroit and Buffalo, and you need those games, right?
And got bum-fucked in those games by them. And you beat Detroit once, and in that game, you were on the spit.
Yes.
You were taking it from both ends.
Well, that was the European game. What was the score? They were up 3-0?
They were up 4-0.
4-0, and let them all the way back in. You end up getting 2 points, but you give one to Detroit, who you're going to be fighting down the stretch
you're
here.
Up 4-0 on a team you're chasing.
Yeah, you got to finish that shit.
They can't take any points. Yeah. And so that's all I'm saying is Detroit is overachieving.
Yes.
And as you said, how come nobody ever progresses to the mean? We always look at regression.
Yeah, whether you're up or down on the mean, you're going to regress to it.
It seems to be regressing to it.
We're a very negative society.
Yeah, so I'm not sure why there isn't any progressing, because our defensive stats would hope that we would progress.
Any progression would be fantastic. I want to ask you about DJ again, because we pointed out the 2 windows, right? There was one just before Sweden, where they had a couple days off, and then certainly the window after Sweden, where you could do something. I believe I was pretty steadfast that they wouldn't do anything before Sweden. It would be too hard going over there and adjusting.
If they
whatever.
didn't do anything, 2 weeks ago we did a show.
Yeah.
And we were looking at the...
I sort of thought I could possibly see it after Sweden. They didn't do it.
But on that show 2 weeks ago, came off the Saturday loss to...
Vancouver or Calgary?
No, we beat Calgary. Yeah. So it escapes me who we lost to on the Saturday night, and they got booed off, and we were looking at... And honestly, you were checking Twitter, and we were looking at all those things, because we expected if it was going to be if it was going to be pre-Sweden, it was going to happen on the Sunday.
It would happen that afternoon, and I'd had somebody put it in my ear, keep an eye on it today, and it didn't come to pass. So now they've come home from Sweden and didn't do it. They're not going to do it this year, right?
Well, they're certainly not going to do it until the season is completely out of reach.
Yeah.
In season.
Yeah. So, the next month or two, or if it goes really bad, or maybe you climb back into it but fade in March, at that point, would you ride? Like, at this point, it just seems like one of the stories we keep hearing is that the players said to Steve Staios and Michael Andlauer, cut the noise. We need less distractions. We need less shit.
Well, Staios is the guy for that.
It seems like it. And so maybe he's decided, at least for this year, I'm going to ride this coach, and these players say they want to play for him. If it doesn't work this year, I don't really care how much the players like him.
The reality is the fan base is engaged.
Yes.
Is engaged. And maybe they're angry right now or unsettled. If you can underachieve this year, unfortunately, and you bring back a new coach and a new system next year, and it's arrow up, and things are better, the fans are going to come.
Have you given up on this season? It's 8-8.
I am teetering.
Yeah. I don't think it's quite that. Everybody said, and us included, has to be a good start, has to be a better start. This wasn't a disaster start, but it was not a good start to sit here at 8-8.
And it was set up for them in terms.
Yes, now, you've pissed away some home games. The schedule's about to get hard.
And there's two constant narratives that if I could just for 1 second take a brief sidestep and
that's not like you,
and debunk any of these things, right?
Love a good debunking.
It's the
An American myth, especially.
I remember every single fucking thing I know. It's the idea that the soft schedule and that they started with is teams that were out of the playoffs last year. Mm-hmm. Does not in any way take into consideration your Philly, your Vancouver, like teams who were out of the playoffs last year, who started out super hot, that you played this year already. That's part of your soft schedule.
Sure. Teams that have improved.
Yeah, Washington. Look at Washington.
Look
right?
at Washington. What the fuck?
I have no idea, man. But and they beat them. They beat those
Right.
guys. The other thing is we can't trade Kubalik because he is the legacy player in the DeBrincat trade. I keep hearing
you can
that.
now that Dorian's gone.
I know, but you keep hearing that
Yeah.
and you keep hearing that. And the reality is Kubalik means nothing. Sorry, Dominic. What actually is the legacy of that is you trade Kubalik and Tarasenko is the legacy of that. You have him for that. That is the salary cap space.
That's where you spent the money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you bring
That's
Pinto,
fair.
you bring Pinto back in because you've let Kubalik go. It doesn't matter that he's in the trade. It's what do you have in-house?
Right.
So let's just stop with that. That we can't trade Kubalik because he's the DeBrincat return. Whatever. Psh, gone. We have Tarasenko.
Especially without Dorian. Like, that's Dorian's trade. I don't care about that now. We fired that guy.
Of course.
Right?
But I as a fan,
Yeah.
am still here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I am still
Inexplicably.
still wearing that. And so I don't want to hear any more of that, right? He's gone, whatever.
Right.
We have Tarasenko, Kubalik is gone. Cap wise, let's do it. Pinto's in, Kubalik's out, gone. Let's do it. What was your question?
I don't even remember at this point. I guess I'm sort of with you that I look at them and they're down there at the bottom of the standings with only Columbus behind them. And it looks so like one of the factors you always talk about is how many teams you're going to have to leapfrog. But when you do reshuffle it, it's 500. Everybody else that you're going to chase in terms of right up to the wild card spot is basically right in that area anyway. Like, no one is running away with it. It's just this next hump of the schedule, whether you agree with the early schedule being easy or not, the next step of it, the next month or two of it is definitely not easy. And so I think there's a chance here that this is where, I wouldn't say it falls apart because I don't think this is going to be one of those things where it goes off a cliff.
No.
I just think when you didn't come out of this set up as well as you'd hoped, it is in theory still there for you, but it starts to kind of chip away here. Maybe you play 450, 470 hockey instead of 500, or even hanging around 500. Like, this team, as JR pointed out, needs a 36, 22, and 6 run or something. And there's just, as you pointed out, there's just nothing so far that says they're capable of doing that.
No.
And so I guess it depends how you went into this season, whether this is a disappointment already or whether there's a chance to salvage it. Is it good enough to finish 10th in the East, 3 points out again? And no. That'll be a bummer. That's a disappointment.
Yeah. And it comes down to the same mistakes are being made. The same issues that leave fans shaking their head and going, I'm not seeing any improvement in those areas. I'm still seeing this team can score.
They got booed off the ice again on Friday.
Yeah, well,
not as lustily as previous times, but there were boos in that building.
But
after
again,
the Islander game.
it's the same thing where you look at it and go, okay, you shit the bed in a 2.5 minute span where you allowed 3 goals after the offside call was made. Instead of you being up 2-1 in 3 minutes, you're down 4-1.
Yeah.
And you go, like, including a record-setting 6 seconds between goals against. Like, I don't even know how you fucking 6 seconds after a
People
goal
love to be a part of history.
you allow a 2-on-1. It sort of boggles my mind. You go, where is that offside defenseman?
Yeah.
What is happening
You
here?
don't even have time in that situation to blame DJ's defensive system. He lost the faceoff.
The
They
left
rushed
guy,
in and scored.
you go, where is that guy? Why is he at the red line? You've lost the draw.
Yeah.
So those sorts of things, and you go, the Islanders are an offensively challenged team.
Sure are.
And you go, they put a 5 spot on you, and you weren't able to go more than 3 goals, and they were down 2 defensemen.
And it sounds like you're not willing to give them anything on the jet lag.
Zero.
No.
0.
Okay.
And you know what? I'm going by what they're saying.
Yep.
They're saying no excuses, man. We've been home for 6 nights. We came on good. It was good sleep. All those things.
If 2 weeks from now, when we sit and do this show again, all 4 teams or 3 out of the 4 European teams are kind of 3-5, Will you give it any credence, or is it still just going to be bullshit? Is it?
Yeah, no, I don't think it's ideal.
Yeah.
But it's not like you come home on the Sunday and you're playing on the Tuesday.
No.
Right? You had till Friday. To me, this team has not shown that they're able to. There's no killer instinct on this team, right? You're up 4-0, you win 5-4, and it's great, right, man? But that is the IKEA commercial. Start the car, start the car, right? You have that walk off homer by Stützle, and you go
fuck.
But it's just
Shane Freimer duck and cover. What are you doing?
Yeah, and everyone's like, well, I don't know. Things swung at my head. You know, I don't know, man. That's so many goalies. Where's Chich Manich? Headbutting that puck over the net.
Stay in there, man. That's your only job. Stay between you and the fucking the puck in the net.
You're wearing that nicely decorated helmet. Get it in
for now.
Get it in the way. Yeah, exactly.
It'll be beige next season.
It is going to be beige. Ecru, mother of pearl. No, to me, this team has not shown any ability to play above. Right.
Yeah.
That being said, so I think in 5 games, 6 games, when they make it up to that 22 game mark, do I expect this team to be 11-11? Yeah, it seems totally possible, right? That this is now you're not out of it.
Nope.
You're not out of it like maybe the Oilers are.
Right.
Like you look in the West.
And yet I would still bet on the Oilers to get back in more than Ottawa. It's just the talent and the...
there's no disagreement to that. At 6 wins, the Oilers are already 9 points out of a playoffs, 9 points.
I'm not saying I'd bet my house on the Oilers doing it. The West also has a lower...
But the discrepancy, you have the Seattle Kraken.
Yeah, the Ducks are hanging around. The Coyotes are hanging around.
But the Kraken are in that second wildcard spot in the West.
Yeah, you can be better than them down there.
At 8-9.
Yeah. Brutal.
So am I asking the Oilers to be, so they're 8-9, 8-9, 8-9-5 or 8-9-4, whatever the Kraken are.
Yeah.
I have no problems believing that the Oilers can be 4 wins better
down the stretch.
In the second,
a very long stretch.
In the 66 games that are left in the season, that they can be 4 wins better than the Kraken. But
the Ducks, the Yotes, like all these teams.
Yeah, see, those are the guys who are regressing.
Yep.
To the
hard,
mean, right?
And it is mean.
Whereas we didn't talk about this, but if you look at right now, the Devils are 500, right?
Yeah, they're going to get going.
You got to know with Hischier back and
Hughes
and all these things that they are going to improve off of that 500 mark.
Carolina's not been very good. They're going to get better.
They're a 500 team as well.
They're getting in. And Philly's going to fall out.
They lost the game the other day, allowing 8 goals on 14 shots.
That was to Tampa.
Like the first team since
Tampa was the first team ever to score on more than 50% of their. They had a 50.3% shooting percentage in that game. Like, oh my god!
Well, this is it, right? And you think
these are Jack Campbell numbers.
You think it was the old Tortorella when he coached the
Lightning, John
Lightning,
Graham.
And he's like John Graham. He's like, we need more than 750. Yeah. How about we need more than 50?
We need the 25% rule or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And so there is, as hard as it is for Ottawa, you look at teams that are on the outside that are still saying, you know what, man, like Carolina and New Jersey in the next 65 games, man, or whatever it is, 60 games, those teams are going to be better. Whereas you look at the position that Edmonton is in, it's a much more enviable position. I still believe if they can get...
Yeah, they're, for me still, like I don't want to exaggerate, they're still at best a coin flip. But I like their ability to get it done based on the weaker West and the talent they have than Ottawa, who's going to have to climb over what just looks like it's going to be a mushy middle in the East all the way through, even though the high end of it appears to be a little higher.
In the West.
Yeah, Vegas and Colorado. And I just think there's going to be right down to everybody taking 3 points off each other, like shootouts and overtimes and stuff. I don't think Ottawa's dead. You can go, you could win. You said the next 6 games you'll evaluate again. If they were to go 4-2, suddenly even that minimal keeps them in it. But they've just not set themselves up like I think a lot of people thought they might in the first
And they
game.
haven't showed me that they could go 4-2.
Yeah.
Like, to me, it's in the East, you have no team in a wild card or a playoff spot with less than 10 wins.
Right.
Like I said, you have a sub 500, 8-9
Yeah, in the West.
Kraken team in a wild card spot.